Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Scraps, the crafting game brought to us by Cesar Capacle. Again, I do apologize if I'm saying that wrong. We are at part 2 and we are going to have our playthrough. We're actually going to go through the actual gameplay in this part of the video. Part 1 was the introduction to the game and it was the character creation. We came up with our character, which I have named Dilbert. I do apologize, part 1 was actually a bit longer than I was expecting, but I kind of didn't want to edit it down too much. But I did include a breakdown so you could skip to the parts you wanted to watch and not have to watch the whole thing if you didn't want to. Like I say, it was a little bit long. I do apologize. Now, before we continue, as per usual, please take a moment to like and subscribe. Would really appreciate that. Feel free to comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've tried this game or if you've tried any of Cesar's other games. I do have, I think, one more of his games. There are another couple that I'm looking at. But funding and my budget, my gaming budget isn't huge. So I'm having to limit what I can buy and play at the moment, but I'm definitely going to be looking at other games by Cesar. Right, where are we? Well, this is part 2. This is where we're going to take our character, Dilbert, into the wild to try and find materials for his projects. What have I done since part 1? Well, I have put my field of preference, I've put it here next to the workshop. It's an engineering workshop, so I mean that's rather than it just being up here in the middle of nowhere. What else have I done? I've named my character Dilbert. I have also changed the layout of my workshop. Now, in part 1, I kind of grouped most of my materials in one corner, and I was kind of saying to myself, I don't think this is a good idea. And at the time, I didn't know why, but in between making that video and coming into this video, I remembered if you have any materials that decay or go bad, they can also affect adjacent materials as well. So having it all clumped together kind of is a bad thing. And when you're looking for decay, or if you're looking for materials that kind of can't be used anymore, you're using the Battleship mechanic in terms of the X and Y on the grid, and you got my battleship, or in this case, you got my rock. So I've rearranged it a little bit, spread it out a little bit, so that if I do come up against any decay in the 4th phase, the back home phase, it shouldn't affect too much. Fingers crossed. Right, what else have I done? Well, I have given Dilbert a little bit of a background. And the way that I did that is that in Scrapped, at the back, you have a couple of appendices. You have Appendix 1 and Appendix 2. Now, Appendix 2 is used to generate some details, some description of the settlements that you find in the game to add flavor. But also, Appendix 1 is an NPC generator, which again is used to add a little bit of color, a little bit of flavor to people or important people that you may meet. Now, I have actually used this for Dilbert. So I actually rolled a random trait, a random passion, and a random dream. So what did I get? I got 4 traits. I got strong. For passion, I got cooking. And for dream, where is it? I got retirement. So I've kind of come up with a little bit of a backstory for Dilbert based on those things that I've rolled. Here we go. Never the brightest member of the community, Dilbert was, however, a marvel with technology, always willing to help fix and repair people's items, and strong as an ox as well. Only his family and closest friends know his secret passion for cooking. Dilbert is very self-aware of his cooking ability and frequent failures. food poisoning tends to follow him around. But he does look forward to the day when he can retire, surrounded by his inventions and surrounded by healthy, safe, and friendly friends. Dun, dun, dun. Gilbert, the strong cook who wants to retire. Right, so that's just a little bit of background. Like I mentioned in some of my other videos, I am not the greatest role player in terms of acting out and creating stories, but I hope you will suffer through this video. Like I say, I'm probably not going to have as much role playing as maybe some other YouTubers or some other reviewers or players, but I'll add what I can. I'm really just trying to show you guys through playing the game. I'm trying to show you alternative games that you guys can purchase and play and enjoy, rather than just focusing on the Games Workshop or the Wizards of the Coast, who are not actually helping the hobby at the moment. So, what else do we have? Yes, we have, during character creation, we also came up with our personal project, which I was going to make a personal transporter, like a bike. So we came up with the basic design for that, or the basic sort of silhouette pattern, which I'm going to have to try and fit materials into when I come back. The community project, now that's going to be one of the first things we're going to be doing today. So without further ado, let's get started by taking Dilbert out into the world and try and get some scraps. Okay, so gameplay, as I mentioned in part 1, does follow a loop, a 4-phase loop. You have the planning phase, phase A. You have the journey phase, phase B. Collecting phase, phase C. And going back home, phase D. And then you do it again and again until you've made all the projects that you want to do. Right, so we are going to start with phase A, which is the planning phase. Now for this, we are going to have to come up with our community project. That's going to be the first thing we do in our planning phase. So we're now going to roll on tables to determine the nature. So here it basically starts off with table 2 with the project type. But what you can also do to kind of help you or to guide you in terms of what a project is, in terms of the storytelling, you can also use table 1 to give you, again, a little bit more information about the project you need to do. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to start, where's my bookmark? There's my bookmark. So for the community project, we're going to look first at the general field. So we're rolling 1 dice. We get a 4, so it is a trinket. Okay, so it's going to be a trinket. Okay. What does it say here? Trinkets. The art of creating gadgets, tools and artifacts of all sorts. From goggles to gloves, from kitchen utensils to toys. There are no firearms in this world, but web shooters, sling pistols, and other forms of handheld tools can be very useful. Okay. Now, with that in mind, we can now look in terms of project type and link it with that to help me to come up with the idea. So, project type is a 5, shelter and hospitality. Okay. Now, hospitality, right. So what could we come up with, which is a trinket, but is also reflected in shelter and hospitality? Okay, well, how big is the project? Because again, we can roll this. Is it going to be a fairly small project, which could be things like goggles, or it could be something a bit larger, where again, the project itself would be bigger as well. So let's see how big the complexity is on the sides. It is a 2, so it's going to be 16 to 20 squares. Okay. So it's not going to be the biggest item that we're going to be making. Right, let's have a think. What should we do? It's a trinket for shelter and hospitality. Right, now, this wasn't easy. The combination of gadget and shelter and hospitality. I had me stumped for a little while, so that's why I had the little pause in here. Because a lot of the ideas that I had for this shelter and hospitality gadget could kind of, or would better suit other things, but no, what the hell. So it's got to be a community project, so it's got to be something for my settlement. So what I was thinking was maybe some kind of music box. Because again, shelter and hospitality, you're looking in terms of places for people to live, but also in terms of guests. So I was thinking like a music box could possibly help people to relax when they're at home or in hospital or in the medic center, or like I say, guests that come. I know that it could also come under maybe arts and culture, but I don't know. Also, it has to be a little bit small. It's the second smallest size. So I was thinking like some kind of portable music box. What the hell? We're going to try that. So it's going to be a portable music box. All right. So that's going to be the plan. It's going to be a portable music box, 16 to 20 squares. Project complexity done. Right. So now that I've had a little bit of time to think, what am I going to do? Now I'm going to try and come up with some kind of silhouette or grid design for it. Back in a second. Right, I can't. What does a music box look like in terms of squares? I don't know. It looks more like a bloody alien from Space Invaders. But never mind. This is going to be my music box. It is 18 squares in total, so it's right in the middle of the range that I'm supposed to do. And this represents kind of like a music box with some kind of area in the middle where it's open, where you can change the, I don't know, like a music box normally has those cylinders with the little pins. So maybe this is the area where you can put the different cylinders with the pins. You have the feet or the stand here, and then here maybe some kind of antenna or some kind of vibrating mechanism to actually act as like a speaker or something. Right, we're done. That's that done. Right, what's next? Next we have to define the special ingredients. Every project is made of basic materials, which is wood and stone or wood and rock, and special ingredients, unique elements that need to be offered by nature in remote locations. So this is really what we're going traveling for, what we're doing our journeys for, is to find these special ingredients, and of course, also more wood and rock, or wood and stone. Now, when we did our personal project, it actually said you don't need to define special ingredients your personal project needs at this point. Let the story unfold and make it up as you go. So, I think what that means is that you can improvise for your personal project, because during the journey there are chances for you to find random special ingredients, and maybe you can incorporate any of those into your personal project. But of course, based on what it is, you then have to explain why it's useful in your project. I think that's how it works. So for the community project, you've actually got to roll up and state the special ingredients you need. But I think for the personal project, I think you can use any others that you can find, or possibly even some of the ones you found for this project. But you've got to come up with a reason as to why that material, that special material, is used in here. So in terms of rolling up the special ingredients, I think we only need to do that for the community project. For the personal project, it's kind of flexible. At least that's how I read it, because it said, like I say, it says here for the personal one, let the story unfold and make it up as you go. So that's how I see it. So let us find out for the community project how many special ingredients. Okay, just one dice. We get a 3, 2 special ingredients. Okay, I'll actually be uploading or updating all this information into my journal as well as we go. Also, I'll be putting the hexes. Now, I'm not going to be using the one that comes in the PDF, because I think those hexes are too small. So I've actually printed out a larger hex grid. Here's going to be my first location, my home community, my home settlement, and I'm going to be exploring around it. Like I say, you don't need to have that many hexes. Where is it? Yeah, I'll put it back in the folder. So it's probably very shiny, but you don't need a hex grid that big to begin with. something like this will be absolutely perfect for a small to medium game, right? So yeah, I'll be putting references to the hexes on here, but I'm also going to be putting down here the information regarding the projects and the ingredients and stuff. Actually, I think I'll do that now. So give me a second and I'll just transfer the information from here into the journal. All right, so I've just wrote down a little bit of info regarding my personal project number 1 and my community project number 1. So that's there. So it's all in the journal. So in case I have problems fitting it in here, I can actually put it in the journal. All right. So we have 2 special ingredients. So for each ingredient, you have to roll on tables 5 and 6 to actually create the name of the ingredient. So once on each table, combine the words, gives you the name of the ingredient. So completely and utterly random and a lot of variation, a lot of variety, a lot of possible combinations. Right. So this is going to be one of those tables where you probably need, or it makes it easier if you've got dice of 2 colors. Right. So the first part is a 2 and a 6. Hollow. So it's called hollow. Hollow what? 2 and 3. Hollow iron or metal. So hollow iron. Hollow iron doesn't sound very good, but hollow ferrum sounds better. So the first special ingredient is hollow ferrum. Okay, so again, just writing it down here, hollow ferrum. So I'm thinking maybe this is some kind of, what's the word, porous, like a porous metal, maybe in its sort of base state, in its natural state is more like an ore. So maybe it's like a type of rock which is very porous, very full of holes, but is based on an iron molecular structure kind of thing. So hollow ferrum is the first one, I think. We'll come back and name the other one, but let's carry on with the details. Right. Special ingredients are somehow hard to come by. For each of them, roll on tables 7 and 8 to learn why it's hard to obtain and how far away it is. Right. So why is it hard to obtain? Bonk. We get a 4. It's up high. So maybe this. So up high. Maybe it can only be found on mountains. So up high, near mountain peaks. So maybe the only place to find this with that unique construction in terms of its porosity is actually so that it can only be found up near mountain peaks. Okay, how far away is it? So this relates to how far away from your current hex, which is your settlement. So it can be 1 hex away, any of these. It can be up to 4 hexes away. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it can be quite far away if you're unlucky. Right, how far away is it? Donk, donk. 3. 2 hexes away. So, let's have a think. So let's label these. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Good, good, good. So this is going to be like a mountain range, and it is also for special ingredient number 1. Okay. So I'm going to have to travel at least to there. All right. So home, this is where we have our huts. This is where we have our home. Not very good at sketching and artwork. All right. So anything else we need to do for that? Not at the moment. Okay. So now we come to our second ingredient. This is going to be a 4 and a 1. moon. Moon something. Moon. A 1 and a 4. It's another mineral. Sand, salt, or dust. Moon dust. Moon salt. Moon sand. Moon dust. I mean, it's not entirely very creative, I'm sure. For moon dust. No, Stardust is the movie, isn't it? So moon dust is going to be our second special ingredient. Now, another thing is that with special ingredients, you can only ever have one in a hex. And again, I'm not entirely sure, but I think that this is like a permanent thing. So if by chance I need the same special ingredient, if I roll up the same special ingredient again, I'm assuming that I can go back to this hex and find it again. I don't have to find another completely new hex to find that specific ingredient, because it does say that hexes, or does it say? Yeah, there can only be one special ingredient per hex. So if your project needs more than one, you've got to find another location. So that's how it goes. Right, so moon dust. Why is it so hard to obtain? 2. It's fragile or tenuous. Yeah, so it says fragile or tenuous. So in terms of fragility means that, you know, unless you're careful, something happens. So I'm thinking maybe the dust turns to gas when it's exposed to oxygen or excessive oxygen. So maybe we need to keep it into some kind of low oxygen liquid until crafting. Even maybe water. So maybe it's found in maybe like a pool underwater, and you have to collect it with the water in order to actually transport it. Once you start crafting, you can actually apply methods to kind of make it into a solid. But until then, it has to be kept maybe in a liquid. Okay, so where are we going to find this? Let's say that it will, maybe it's found lakeside, in pools of fresh water. So it can be found maybe near rivers or lakes. That makes sense, okay? Right, how far away is it? It is, oh God, 4 hexes away. So 4 hexes away. So I could just continue up to this one and make this one the, yeah, I think I'll do that. So I'm not going to go 9, 10. I'm not going to bother doing that. So 9 and 10. So maybe this is maybe some kind of lake. So this is special ingredient number 2. Okay. So we're going to have to basically travel from 1 to 2 to 8, 9, and then 10. Whether I can do that in one journey, I don't know, because I'm only going to have 4 provisions to start with, and you have to use 1 provision for every hex. So if I go to here, I'm not going to have enough provisions to get back. Now, when you don't have enough provisions, every time you move to a new hex, you have to add +1 decay, which gives you a lot more chance of your materials being useless when you get back home. So maybe again, there are ways of finding provisions on the way. So maybe I can do it in one journey. We'll have to see, because also we have to consider our backpack. Depending on the size of the first ingredient and other things that I find, I may not have enough space in the backpack for that second one. So we shall have to see. So in the meantime, I'm also going to put here moon dust. Yeah, maybe it also is only out at night. In pools of fresh water, found easier at night. Because the name moon dust, maybe it's easier to spot, easier to find. Maybe it sparkles in the moonlight. Okay, so 9, don't know yet, and 10 is a lake. This is for the moon dust. Okay, we're getting there slowly. Now this may I may have to do a part 3 if this if this is going to take too long, because it's already 40 minutes. What the hell? Jesus Christ. Okay, as I'm recording, it's at 40 minutes, but I know there was a big section earlier where I was trying to think about what what project to do. So after editing, it may not be 40 minutes yet. But like I say, I don't really want to have hour-long videos. So let's see how we do. Right, so we have both of our ingredients. Again, Cesar puts here, like, it's a world of wonder, unimaginable landscape. So when you're envisioning the source, try the following tips: change the size, the appearance, the environment, flying giraffes, purple lions, So it's not your normal world. Yeah? The world has changed. Right, what's next? So that's that done. Right, making preparations. So now you know what you need to find and where to find it. Yes, I do. I have to go to here to find the first one, which is the hollow ferrum. And then I've got to go to here to find the moon dust. Okay. Now we have to get ready to embark on the journey. Okay, so now we have to prepare. You must seek guidance. Now, you see here, seek guidance is underlined. That means we have to make an action roll. It's what they call a move. I think task or test would probably be a better word than move, but this is basically a move that we have to make, or a test that we have to move. Seek guidance to anticipate what you may face along the way. First roll on table 9 to determine how you do it. Envision the scene, again, adding that little element of storytelling, of role-playing. And then roll discern. Okay. Discern, I've only got 1. Oh no, that's not good. That's not a good start. Right, so how do we seek guidance? How are we going to find out about these materials? How are we going to get some insight as to how we're going to do? Right. We get a 2 and a 4, gazing into the flames. Okay. So, journey 1. All right, journey number 1. So, seek guidance. We got a 2 and a 4, gazing into the flames. Okay, so how does that relate to portents in terms of how I'm going to do? Okay, so maybe before I depart, the settlement, the community has like not so much a feast, but an evening meal to wish me well. And as I'm sitting eating my food, I'm looking into the campfire, sort of not daydreaming, but kind of zoning out, kind of wondering how I'm going to do, since this is my first journey, wondering what I'm going to find, since it's all new to me. So we're going to see what happens. Now, we're rolling discern. So how is this going to affect me? What am I actually going to see in those flames? Right, so for making any kind of action test, we have to roll a number of dice equal to our action, which is 1, right? So I'm only rolling 1 dice. So what do we get? We get a 3. You expect strokes of good and bad luck. So as I'm gazing into the fire, I've got mixed feelings. The flames are calm and moving, with the wind gentle 1 minute, but then the next minute they're fluttering very hard as a sudden gust approaches and blows them and almost makes the flames go out, but then they come back soft and gentle. So I know that there's going to be good and bad on this journey, and I've got to be ready and prepared for that. Okay, that's the storytelling bit done. Now, in terms of the mechanics, that basically means that I get 1 decay and 1 opportunity before I start. Now, as I mentioned in part 1, opportunity, these basically give you a chance to get bonuses to your rolls or to find things. The decay will come into play when we come back and try our crafting, because this could mean that some of our materials are no good, whether it's in the backpack, the workshop, or work in progress on the projects. We're going to have to find out, aren't we? Right, so, okie dokie. So we've done that. We've contemplated the journey. The flames gave me sort of some good and bad vibes. We've got to make sure that we have provisions. Yes, we have our 4 provisions. Okay. Loosely trace a line indicating the path you will take along the hexes. I'm not going to bother with that. I'm just going to plot it as we go. Okay. So that is phase A. That is the planning phase done. So now we are at phase B. So we've done the planning phase. We're now moving to the journey phase where we're going to be moving on the hex map. Traveling, overcoming obstacles and scouting. Right. So you leave your settlement and step into uncharted territory. Everything is unfamiliar and inspiring. You may find other travelers along the way. You will enjoy your time together and contemplate the beauty of Aira. But there will also be hardship. Yes, because the flames told me there's going to be good and bad. Although there is no one out there actively trying to oppose you, the quest itself will reveal internal and external obstacles. So get ready to face danger and seize every moment, right? Alright, so we are now going to be travelling. So what we do is every hex we move, we have to roll 4 times on table 10 to determine the nature of the piece of land. Now, I don't think that that applies for the hexes where we have the special ingredients, because when we rolled up the special ingredients, it kind of told us where they, or we kind of made a decision in terms of where they're going to be. So I don't think that's necessary. So hex 8 is going to be mountains. Hex 10 is going to have a lake. I think that's how it works. But all the other hexes that you travel through, you've got to roll and find out what's going to be there. Right, so traveling, you'll now roll 4 times on table 10 to determine the nature of this piece of land, and once on table 11, to find out if anybody or anything is there. Okay, so 4 times is basically you're rolling 2 pairs. So the first pair, we get a 2. I'm going to have black first and then white. So 2 and a 2, a little less ascending, and 5, a little more wet. Maybe my home settlement is in the hills a little bit. So maybe we're coming down to the flatlands. A little bit more wet, so maybe I don't know whether it would be a swamp, because if you get way more wet, then maybe it would be a swamp. But I think sort of we're coming down into plains, just sort of plains where there's a little bit of precipitation. So we'll say that hex 2 is plains. Okay. Right, so that's the first hex in terms of the generator, but is anybody in that hex? Do I meet anyone? No one there. So nobody in that hex for me to meet. Okay. If you find someone, you may bake that encounter into the following hex peril. Yeah, every hex you've also got to roll to see if there's any kind of obstacle or any kind of trouble in that hex. So we didn't find anybody. Got to spend 1 provision. So we're spending 1 provision. So I'm going to take off one of my pieces of card. Come on, you get off you come. So I'll keep this handy because I'm going to try and find some provisions at some point. So I'll keep that handy. All right. So I've got 3 provisions left, but I have moved into 1 hex. So I've now moved into here. Okay. Okay. Anytime you're out of provisions, you take 1 decay instead. Yeah, I said that earlier. Right. Overcoming obstacles. Right. Let me move this back where it's supposed to be. So there are challenges and obstacles along the way. Depending on how well you do, you might risk your supplies, but you can also learn. Oh crap! Yeah, you got to risk your supplies, didn't you? All right. So. You must face peril to get around the challenges of this place. Basically, every hex you move into is going to cause you some kind of challenge or obstacle, whether it's weather, some kind of path, maybe you lose a path, maybe some kind of natural phenomenon. So we need to find it is. So First roll on table 12 to determine the nature of the peril, envision the scene, and then roll explore. Okay, so more storytelling. So the peril that we're going to face is 3, the path. Okay, so maybe we lose the path and we lose our bearings because I don't think I have a compass, or maybe I have to build a compass as a future personal project. So we roll the hex peril. So our journey, okay, so we go to hex number 2, hex peril. We rolled a 3, path, so we get lost. Or potentially get lost. That's going to be whether we actually manage to overcome the obstacle or not. So, okay, so roll explore. So this basically just gives me an indication in terms of how that challenge affects me, whether getting lost and losing the path is going to affect me in a bad way, or whether I think positive and I learn from it. So we've got to roll explore. Now my explore is good. I've got an explore of 3, so I'm rolling 3 dice. And we take the highest. Oh, well, I've got a 6. So you take the highest. Right, you gracefully made the most of hardship. Take 1 opportunity. Excellent. So basically, I do get lost on the path, or I lose the path, but I'm able to use kind of like my I kind of learn to look around and use lots of tracking skills to kind of find my way back, and I find it a rewarding experience because I'm able to put what I learned in terms of tracking from the people back at the community. I actually managed to put it into practice and sort of went, aha! I had a sort of light bulb moment. Okay, great. So now I've got 2 opportunity points that I can use later to help me. Excellent. If this is the hex where the special ingredient is, envision the peril based on table 7. Okay, so for example, when I go to the hex with the, what's it called? Forgotten the bloody name. Hollow Ferrum, the peril will be related to that hex, so maybe it is to do with the mountains or something. Okay. Why it was, yeah, because table 7 was why it's difficult to get, isn't it? Yeah, why it's hard to obtain, so it was up high. So it'll be more maybe weather, maybe the mountain, the height, the climbing or something, if that's where your special ingredient is, Kate. So that's done there. And because I rolled a 6, I don't have to do risk supply. So if I rolled anything else, I would have to basically check risk supply. So to do risk supply, you have to do one of these decay rolls. Now, normally decay only happens in phase 6 when you're doing your sort of before you do your crafting. When you come back home, you have to check whether where is it? Here. So you basically check to see whether any of your materials in your backpack, your workshop, whatever, has gone bad or is no longer usable. So you have to make what we call a suffer decay roll. With this, with risk supply, you basically have to do the same thing, but you don't roll on the decay target because it's automatically going to be your backpack. Because you're out in the wilds, you're not going to have access to your workshop or your projects at that time. So when you're doing a risk supply, you do this suffer decay, but it's automatically your backpack. So the way that this works is you roll on the target grid to determine a randomly affected square, and then you roll to see what happens to that square. So for example, if roll one, like here, you would roll 2 dice, X and Y, to determine a square on your backpack, in this case. If there's nothing there, nothing happens. But if there is something there like provisions or materials that you've picked up, then potentially something could happen. The square could be tainted. In other words, it's permanently spoiled. So you basically lose that square in your backpack permanently. You can't put anything there. You could also erase the square. In other words, that part is lost. What that means is basically that part of the material is no good anymore. It's gone rotten, it's decayed, etc. You can also erase that square and adjacent square, but you can also halve that square. So with things like provisions, you can basically, you only count as half of a provision. If it's a material, it's only worth half the points when you do your crafting. So risk supply is always a little bit risky. Not so much at the moment because, like I say, I don't have a lot of stuff in my backpack. So rolling a location for the decay to happen, not so much of a problem at the moment. I've also put a little bit, just notes for myself here. The page number for suffering decay, because it's not actually listed here, but having the page number as a reference does help. And just a little note to remind myself that this will only, risk supply only applies to the backpack. But because we rolled a 6, we are okay. Don't want to count my chickens yet because the dice gods hate me. So we know how they play. So that's that done. Scouting. Okay, once per hex, you can explore the surroundings to find something advantageous. You can gather supplies to find provisions or basic materials. Now, provisions would be good. We have to basically make an explore roll. So again, you see it's underlined, which means it's a move. I could get nothing and just get a decay. I could get something and decay. I could get something, or I could get lots of stuff and opportunities. So, do I want to, I mean, I can only do it once per hex. Now, is that once per hex per journey? Or once per hex per game? Because the reason I'm asking the question is if I go to hex 8, find that ingredient, but maybe my backpack is full, I then decide to go back home. Now, as part of this journey, I think it's obvious that if I explore the surroundings here for this gather supplies, if I do it now, I can't do it again on the way back. But if I start another journey, can I explore that hex again? So I'm going to be looking for provisions. So let me go back to here. So hex number 2, we are gathering supplies. Okay. And it is explore. So I'm rolling 3 dice. And we get the highest is a 5. So we get a 5. So a 5 is beneficial. Add 1 provision or 1 scrap. So I did provision, so I get plus 1 provision. Excellent. So what that does means I can get back the 1 I lost. So there you go. I'm back to 4 provisions. Excellent. And I have travelled to hex 2. Brilliant, 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 brilliant. Right, done that. While you are out there exploring, you may have an insight or stumble upon some other special ingredient you want to... Okay, so find an opportunity. At any point during your journey phase or collecting phase, you may spend 1 opportunity to find an opportunity. When you do, envision a scene and choose one. You have a moment of enlightenment, add plus 1d6 to a single move roll you make going forward, or you find a scrap of random special ingredient. Roll on tables 5, 6, 13 and 14 to determine it. Well, I mean, I have 2 opportunity. I could use it to find either a random special ingredient, which I could use on my personal project, or I could give myself a plus 1 dice. Now, this would be useful if I have to do any more discern tests. So you can spend as many as you want during the phase and choose a different route. I mean, is there any benefit to keeping opportunity? I don't think there is there? I mean, you can use opportunity. You can use opportunity. You don't get points for your project with opportunity, but it can help me to actually. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend 1 opportunity point, because I think when I was lost and looking for the path, maybe I had this this moment of enlightenment where basically I suddenly remembered things that I was taught as a youngster, and maybe that can come in useful a bit later on as I'm trying to do some kind of exploring role. So that would be the moment when I got that insight in terms of suddenly it made sense. What I had been taught before by my elders in the settlement, it kind of clicked and made sense. So maybe that's what's going to give me that +1 d6. Should I use the other one? Should I use the other one? It doesn't say I can only do it once per hex, does it? Choose a different... Yeah, okay, so I mean, I'll use the other point of opportunity to find a special... Oops. Okay, just bent all my materials. So I'm going to use that to find a special ingredient. Right, so special ingredient is 4 and 2. Radiant. Radiant. 3 and 3. Sap, syrup, juice. Radiant. Sap, syrup, or juice. Yellow sap? Yeah. Radiant, yellow, sap. Okay. So this is... Oh, we've got a roll as well, haven't we? We've got a roll 7 as well. Let's check. 5, 6, 13 and 14. Okay. There's 13. Oh, okay. So we've got to do the size and the shape and stuff. So radiant yellow sap. So it's in hex 2. So it's found on in small plains trees. Okay, so we found a little piece of radiant yellow sap as I was, like I say, searching for the path after I got lost. I found a little bit of it. So we've now got to discern how big it is. Okay, so let's go this way. Dum dum. Too far. Dum dum. Is this it? No. Here we go. Right. So it is. So now we have to do randomly figure out how big this scrap is. So we're rolling. It is 4 squares. So now we're going to roll the shape. 3. It's this shape. Okay. Right, so I've taken some yellow card. And again, I've made a note down the bottom which ingredient uses that colour, so it can help me later. So I have cut out the correct shape and size. It is 4 squares. So now I have to put this into my Backum Packum. Right, so we get our character sheet. So now I've got to put this in here. Now I'm thinking this could be good. But again, when I have that decay problem, it can also get rid of adjacent. So maybe I want to put it somewhere else. So maybe I want to put it down here. Maybe there. Now again, with these, when you find them, you can flip them or rotate them. But once you fit them in, they're kind of stuck until you actually use them later. So I'm thinking, I don't really want to, I don't know, I mean, because it's a pretty good fit there, isn't it? I'm going to stick this down in the other corner. So a little bit of blue tack. I'm going to stick this down here, I think. Right, so we've got our 4 provisions. We've got the piece of special ingredient, this radiant yellow sap that I found, which I could potentially use in the bike. Maybe I can use it at the front, maybe as some kind of light or some kind of reflector for safety and for illumination, maybe. I think that's how the special ingredients are supposed to work with your personal project. You kind of find what you can and think of a way to incorporate it that makes sense into your project. So something like a radiant yellow sap could, I think, be used for some kind of illumination or reflector or something. So Okay, good. So I've got less space on my backpack now. Right, let us continue. What happens next? Okay, nothing else. So if we are not at the hex where we have our special ingredient that we're searching for, we continue back with journeying. Now, I actually think that I'm going to stop the video here. So this isn't going to be part 1 and part 2. I think this is going to be possibly part 3, part 4, because I don't want these videos to be too long. So I think I'll stop it there for part 2. What have we done? Well, I mean, I haven't really done a lot. We did our planning back at home to create our community project, to come up with the special ingredients we need, to identify where they are on the hex grid. We have started our journey. We've moved into hex 2. That is all we've done so far. Journey 1, seek guidance, and then hex 2. But in hex 2, we had a few things. The hex peril was related to the path. We basically got lost. Facing the peril in terms of overcoming that problem, we did really well. We got +1 opportunity. We had inspiration. We also gathered some supplies. We got ourselves some provisions. We also found an opportunity, 2 sets of opportunities. We spent both of our opportunity points. We got +1d6 for a future roll, and we get a special ingredient which I could potentially use in my personal project. Okay, so we are currently in hex 2 in this area of plains. In the next video, we are going to move into hex 8 and try and find our first special ingredient for our community project, this portable music box. That is going to be in the next video, part 3. So guys, again, I hope I haven't lost you. I hope you've stuck around. This is a very interesting game. It is very unique in the way that it plays, at least from games that I'm aware of. But yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for keeping in touch. Again, please take a moment to like and subscribe, add comments, ring the bell, do all those things you need to do to help me, get more attention to the channel and to the videos. Part 3 will be coming soon, where we continue our journey in Scraps. So take care of yourselves, stay safe, see you in part 3. Cheers.